America, vote me MVP.
So for the trailer of this show, we're going to be like, we all gang up and get into a huge fight with Kalia. Must watch now. I love having a weak big brother. The parts I remember anyway.
Want to know what really happens? I have all the dirt from the live feed.
I never joke about Big Brother unless you're a floater in the game.
Hey everybody, Eric Herder here from YourRealityRecap.com with your Week 6 group hangout / video recap of everything you missed this past week from the Big Brother show and live feeds, except in full detail with myself, John, Michelle, and some special guests and even BB alum. Now, that being said, it's different than our live feed breaking news show where we come to you right away when something really good happens on the show, or my comedic video mashup show, which is way shorter and just a comedic video mashup show. But since this one is kind of longer, you guys should know by now if you're watching on YouTube, there's buttons all around this video that let you skip around. Same thing if you look in the description below, there's chapter markers with specific topics that we talk about. So just easy ways for you guys to jump around this video if you're watching in YouTube. Don't forget to like it while you're there and subscribe. Now, look, one more major announcement I am saving for the end, but if you like money, you're gonna want to watch my announcements at the end. And I mean like $1,000 money that you could get like right away. So make sure you stick around for the end of the episode. You know that you can follow me over at Twitter. I'm at Reality Recaps. But since we have so much to get to for this week, let's just jump right into it.
Hey, it's John from Seattle, but I'm actually at the Oregon coast this time with my lovely mother, Cynthia.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us, Mom. You can follow me on Twitter at Comedy Jonah.
Hey, you guys, it's Michelle from the Bronx. You can find me at You Got Bronx on Twitter. Guess what we got?
Hey guys, it's Kalia, your favorite Big Brother house guest. I know. I am from sunny Los Angeles, and you could follow me at Twitter if you want to. I don't really know if you want to, but it's at Kalia Balia.
Okay, I'm stopping this right now. We are done with the self-loathing Kalia. We are all huge Kalia fans. People should be following you. You are good on Twitter. Kalia, you are one of the funniest people on your season. And us live feeders knew that. Forget about what CBS is doing with the show. We know.
I know, I have so much to love Allison Gardner for. Yeah. Okay. I just don't take myself that seriously. Oh.
You did on Twitter this morning.
This morning? Was I on this morning?
Your tweets came through this morning that you were watching the show.
Oh, yes, because I was like, I have to catch up. Yeah. Because I don't want to not have known what happened on the double eviction episode. So I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, so there's really no one I can text. My friends don't really care about Big Brother, so I had to go to Twitter. I was so annoyed. Okay, anyway,
yes,
that means I need to introduce myself again.
That's good.
So, I mean, we need to talk this week, Big Brother, but I think a lot of people kind of already know everything that has happened from this week. So what do we all want? Like, is there anything from this week? Now, Kalia, you have it freshest in your mind. So is there anything from this week that you were just dying to talk about?
You know what? I'm really sad because even though Candace wasn't playing the best game ever, I'm really bummed that she went home. I just feel like that show really did a number on her in a really unfair way, and it sucks that that was her Big Brother experience. It's unfortunate there are still a lot of racist people in the country, but it sucks so badly that it infiltrated the house so badly. I could not imagine being her and having to play that game with that kind of stuff laying on her. So I am really bummed that she went home. But the thing that probably bothered me the most this week was that comment that Gina Marie made as she walked out of the door. First of all this stuff about a rat and where you come from, let me explain something to you. Where I come from, you don't take a parting shot like that. You say that to my face, and you let me come at you right back. I could not believe that she waited until she walked out the door. The door was closing, and she made that comment about her mom not liking her. Like, that's so low and disgusting. I was blown.
Yeah. Oh, God. don't.
But then it's like she's got two moms, right? So.
Well, yeah, but she's adopted, so I think she's basically saying, like, your mom who gave you up for adoption doesn't like you. My mom likes me. And I was just like, whoa, are you kidding? Big Brother's not a personal game like that. Yeah, people get into it and they don't like each other, but you never come at someone that way. That's not the game. And I think that's what makes fans so upset, is that this season has been a series of things that are not the game of Big Brother. It's been a series of things that are outside the game. You've got rumors of people being, I mean, now they're being real, but rumors that are coming forward about people who are being pegged to win the game. You know, things that are just happening that honestly, like, this is my worst season.
Yeah, it's up there with 9 for sure. You know, as long as McCrae and Amanda keep the covers over them, it's still just underneath 9. It's just right there.
What an interesting love affair. It's so weird. Do you guys think I
like Amanda. I liked her a lot, but you know, like her whole comedic value, the things that she brings to, you know, the DR, and you know, she would be a good gamer if she didn't have this like succubus relationship that she's having with McCrae.
But you know what the thing is that as much as Amanda gets on my nerves, she's super smart. I mean, she has not won anything. She's not a person who's going to win competition. She's been very smart about literally having that entire house guarding her. She's been on the block twice, and now we can't put her up anymore, but she's been up on the block twice. I guarantee that girl's going to sail to the end because she's got everyone protecting her.
Right. Since we were talking about what happened on the show, and since it's so fresh in your mind, what did you think about Helen's comment to Aaron saying she is Janelle?
That's what we think.
Thank you.
He's so on it. He's so incredibly on it. Wait, we're going to have to get him to stop. Bentley. Okay. My comments about Helen's comment about Aaron being Janelle, there is one similarity between Janelle and Aaron, and that is that they are blonde, and that's as far as it goes. I'm so tired of every time there's a blonde, pretty girl on Big Brother, everyone's like, she's going to be the next Janelle. Like, no, I think Janelle's come along once in a Big Brother history. I think Will's come along once in a Big Brother history. I even think my baby Danny, they come along once in a Big Brother history. It's not, everyone needs to stop saying, like, I'm going to be the next puppet master. No, why don't you go in and be the next you? That's the only way you're going to be able to play any kind of game. Helen, however, Helen's game has become to just be, like, the annoying cheerleader that pumps everybody up. She is, like, kissing ass in a way. Can you say ass on television?
Yep, go for it.
She's like the person that is kissing ass in a way that is just so obvious, like running up to you and being like, oh my God, you are so going to be asked back. You are just like Janelle. You're amazing. You're killing everything. I'm like, okay, she won a couple competitions. Like,
well, do you think it's working?
I think in the moment, I can say this from experience in the house, when someone tells you something like that, it is such a compact, like, crazy mindset you're in. It's like the most amazing social experiment ever. So many things affect you in a really different way. And, for example, I remember someone saying to me in the house that I was, like, one of the best newbies in the game, and that I was, like, maybe the best newbie in the game, and I would definitely be back for All-Stars. And I was like, okay. I really was, like, in that moment, I was like, I don't know about that. But then, like, when you're, like, laying in the bed at night, or when you're, like, doing all your crazy thinking while you're just doing nothing in the house, you start to say, like, huh, maybe I am playing a really good game. You know what I mean? So I think that, like, I'm sure that Aaron, in that moment, especially double eviction, it's so amped. It's like, I felt her when she won that second POV. It's so, like, and so in that moment, she was probably like, yeah, I'm the next Janelle. But, like, in real life, no, you're not. And she'll know that she's not.
No, in that moment, I don't think that was, I'm so excited. I think that was, there's no more black people to nominate. What am I going to do? I think that's what she was doing in that moment.
She was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have nobody to hate.
No, she's got Gina Marie to hate now, so that's who she's going after.
That's right.
Yeah.
I honestly, I can't even, I don't want to meet any of them.
Come on, wait. Not even Alyssa Howard. What about Alyssa?
I've met Alyssa before. I've met Alyssa numerous times.
There you go. So that's like other fans don't know that. So then Alyssa would already be in that category.
She's a really, speaking of Alyssa, she's so sweet. She's so kind. I remember I came out of the house and we went to the finale party on the lot, and I met Rachel's family. And obviously, like, you're still burnt and mad and pissed. I mean, Rachel essentially took $500,000 out of my hand. But I met her sister, and she was like, I was rooting for you all summer. And I was like, you're supposed to be rooting for your sister, but yay! You know, like, she's so sweet. And I've been around her numerous times, and she's a really sweet girl. I wish that the game wasn't affecting her so immensely, because I feel like she could actually be a threat if she would play the game. But at the moment, she was such a target in the beginning. She's kind of being smart to lay low. But I really hope she comes back and starts playing again, because right now I don't really know what she's doing.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know which, she wants to hide a little bit behind Helen. She wants to take Helen's advice, but she still wants to do her own thing. So I think this week, however the noms wound up changing after the POV is won on Monday, I think this week we might see her just amp it up. She's on slop this week, so she's going to be a little off kilter. So she might just say, you know what, I'm tired with you guys. I'm voting out Spencer, if he winds up staying on the block.
I honestly, this is going to sound crazy. I don't have, like, a favorite per se in terms of who I want to, like, stay, go, make it to the end. I think at this point I just know who I don't want to make it to the end. But I kind of want Jessie to be in the final two, which is absurd. But I don't know. There's something about an underdog, and there's something about somebody who will actually throw the sliding door open and go ham on the person in the house that everyone's protecting. I had no problem doing that. I love people that do that, because everyone's just kind of falling in line, and that's so boring.
Yeah, I was definitely going to ask you, did you think that Jessie was almost like Portia? Like she's going to sit there, she's going to take it, she's going to be, kicked around a little bit, but she might just wind up sitting in that final two chair.
I love my Porsche. I love her. I think that Jessie might be playing a little bit more game than Porsche played. I think once Porsche realized that she was safe and she spent those few weeks just kind of like hanging, I don't think that changed until she was given a chance to play, which was when Danny left, because we had to, like, step up and make sure that we didn't go home. But I think that Jessie's gaming a little bit more in the sense that, I thought it was amazing that Amanda said the other night that she hasn't really won anything. And I was like, no, Amanda, you haven't really won anything. Actually, Jessie won a POV. So I kind of think that's interesting. But no, I kind of feel like in the situation that she's in, Jessie isn't a super duper strong girl, but she's the one that's at night in people's ear trying to flip the house. I can give her credit that she's at least trying to do something versus just sit there and be quiet like an Andy or something.
Oh, no. Why are we hating my Andy? I love Andy.
I love my gays. But Andy, I want to do something. And he's like the scaredest Big Brother player I've, like, ever experienced. Like, the scaredest.
Right.
Well, stay tuned till we get a little bit further in, people, for spoilers, and then we'll talk a little more about it.
Okay. I was going to
say but I think he's genius. Every single week, he manages to vote out people he's not really with, and yet everyone aligned with them still loves him. But we all know how that
people are believing. It's funny. I think it's interesting how he's convincing people. He's virtually with everybody, and he knows that he's put himself in a very good place socially. There's something to be said for a social floater game. Everyone hates floaters. It drives people nuts. But there is something to be said for those people who literally just go where they need to go, but still at the end of the game have those one or two people that they are truly aligned with. I think that's a really smart way, based on whatever season you're on. It's a smart way to play the game if you want to make it to the end.
Right. Well, I think, too, he's in people's ears. He's talking to who? He's talking to them. And, he hasn't even been on the block yet, has he?
Nope.
No.
Not
so I think
yet.
he's doing a really good job being the sneaky gay.
Yes.
It's our superpower. It's our superpower.
We always know, like, there are stereotypes in casting. There are stereotypes on the show. And there's always going to be your gay guy. There's always going to be your black girl or black guy, your big, beefy, hot white boy, your pretty blonde girl, your tomboyish kind of little brunette girl. There's always going to be these types, right? Andy is very clearly the gay, and I think that it's very interesting when you're a minority on that show, whether it be a girl, whether it be a black person, an Asian woman, whatever, you have to play the game in a different way because the numbers are against you from the start. That's just the honesty of any reality show you're going to go on. You have these like American Idol people suing because they didn't get voted to win because they think it's because they're black. That's the life of America, and America watches reality shows. So unfortunately, you have to play the game in a different way. Candace's fault was that she was in there as the angry black woman. She had right and cause to be, but you can't blow up. Howard knew that. He's like, I can't go off or everyone's going to be like, I'm scared of him. He's the crazy black man. For Andy, he's actually being smart because he's great friends with the girls, great friends with the guys. He's talking to everyone. He's like close with everyone, and that's the way you kind of have to play it versus some of the other guys in the past who have just run around in funny outfits and have just been like all over the place, and everyone's like, what are you doing on Big Brother this summer? So there's something to be said for his game. I think he's doing a good job in the social place. I'm sorry, I don't like people that run back and forth and tell everything. You ruin everything.
I'm over popping Andy. I am over the Jack in the Box Andy gameplay. I'm just, it wears me out. Like transcribing it wears me out. Seeing him open the door and like, you know, it's like, he's sitting up in his HOH and nobody else is doing it to him, and he's sitting up there all alone, and it's pretty comical to see that go down. What bothers me about Andy is that when he's outside with the guys like Spencer and McCrae, he does the whole guy crap talk about girls, and then he turns around to the girls and says, I should have stuck up for you. I should have said something to Jeremy. Like, if people don't see this and put it together, you just are letting him go further in the game. Like, you're blinded by everything else. You're blinded by Amanda's paranoia that she's chirping 24/7, you know?
That's a very paranoid place, though. I mean, you literally live in a world where it's just a constant fear of, like, things happening. I mean, everyone laughs and they're like, oh my God, people are talking about superpowers that Judd has and ridiculous things, but that's the kind of stuff that you're kind of made to think when you're in that house, because you are literally brought in there with the mantra of expect the unexpected. You know that anything can essentially happen. So when you're in there and you're like, why is the lawn being mowed today? It's because they're going to make us count all the grass trimmings and they're going to make us guess how many were in the bag. I mean, you really go. You do. You're like in this place of constant, like, I can't hear construction at all in life and not think about a competition, because that's how we would figure out if it was going to be a big, crazy endurance competition or, like, depending on how long we were locked down and if we could hear them building outside. So now, like, I wake up in the morning and I hear construction and I'm like, wait, I'm not. Relax. Pretty much any Big Brother player will tell you that. It's such a crazy paranoia that runs rampant in that house. But the thing is that in your paranoia and in the 20 wrong guesses that you have about what's going on, there's usually 2 or 3 that are spot on. So there are people in that house that have guessed what's going on. Yep. There are people in that house that know who MVP is. I love every time they say, it's 100% Judd, it's 100% Andy, and I'm like, it's 100% not. Like, and you're going to be so bummed when you find out America voted against you so many times.
Yeah.
Do you think the medication that they're taking is fueling their paranoia?
Like alcohol?
I'm really out on the whole medication thing, because you're not like, they monitored like my heartburn medication. I mean, they're like really like my allergy medication. So I don't really know anything about the medication situation. I don't know what's happening with it. I don't know if they really are getting it.
Oh, they're getting it all right.
I saw a little bit last night.
Allow me to speak on what I have heard, allegedly, is that Big Brother cast guests are frequently given Xanax a lot for the panic attacks we have heard lots of them saying in the past few years. I will say, not your season, Kalia.
Oh, I would have loved some Xanax.
Yeah. So I've heard that this year they've introduced a lot of the castmates being on Adderall, which for those of us who are, know that it's very speed-esque.
Yeah.
And that could also be an advantage. So, look, talking about the MVP twist, though, what do you think of that, Kalia? Do you think it would have helped your season's game? Do you like that twist?
No, it would not have helped my season. Here's the thing. In my season, it was tough because you were in there with fan favorites. It wasn't like we were just with like random people from Big Brother history. We were in there with people that were huge, huge fan favorites. So if there was an MVP twist, we would have been, out. It would have just been picking us off, which oddly enough was happening anyway. But it would have been so much more obvious because week after week, people would have just voted for vets. I think the MVP twist this season I love it. I think it's awesome. I hated it at first because I knew that people were just going to keep voting for Alyssa. And I don't think that's fair for two reasons. Surprise, surprise. It's not fair to the house guests, but it's not fair to Alyssa because Alyssa is getting a bigger and bigger target on her back because everyone knows that she's going to have it. And even when she doesn't have it, they're going to assume she does. It's kind of like she's damned both ways. I think it was smart that people started to keep her around because they were like, we can use her vote. But that sucks because then everyone knows that you're a pushover and they can make you do what they want. So in the beginning, I didn't really like it. And I was like, this, stinks. And people are going to just keep voting for Rachel's sister, who is let her play her own game. Like, we all know what it feels like to be a sibling, most of us. Like, you want to be your own person. But I think it was a great twist.
I thought it was smart of Alyssa to come, whether it's come across as a pushover, that's all she had. So it's like, you know what, I will vote any way you want with the MVP.
Yeah,
I have nothing else.
She literally had nothing else, but I kind of felt like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of fans are giving Alyssa a lot more credit than she deserves. That's not to say that she's like, because you say one bad thing about somebody and everyone's like, I killed Kalia! And you're like, I like the girl. I know how to separate the game from the Alyssa I know outside the house. And I think I can even say that I like Rachel as a person. Like, you learn that people are not totally different people in the house, but you're in a very stressful situation and you're doing something you've never done before. It's absurd. So there are differences. But Alyssa's game versus Alyssa in real life, she's sweet, she's lovely, she's great. I'm sure she's sweet and lovely and great in the house, but she's not playing a very great game. She's not playing a strong game. And that's fine. She's playing her game, but she's not playing a strong game. So the MVP twist, I loved it. I thought it was good. I guess that she had it. I loved when it switched to America, and I'm so sad it's over. So sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I was right up there with my 10 votes, like, go.
I think production might have felt the same way that you did, which is how we all did, which is why they had to throw that, twist in there. But speaking of playing the game with that twist, we have a question from Jer, Kalia, in our Z-Box room, who wants to know how you would do this season and who would you align with?
Wow, I've thought numerous times like what I would do this season because it's such a different kind of game in there. It is really a personal game. And everyone saw me when I had my one moment where I needed that cup and was sitting there just flipping it back and forth, sitting in that bedroom. I think if anyone came at me with any of those racial slurs, it would have been a call out to production. You've got 10 seconds to get this girl out of my face, to get her away. Because that was another thing is that I felt like they were not reacting properly. I know that they were probably doing everything they could in the diary room to be like, seriously, like, you have to stop. I will never forget when I got finally yelled at for singing, and I was like, I will never sing again. It was literally that kind of conversation where you were like, I get it. It's an accident every time I do it, but I will stop. I will never do it again. I felt like that was not happening, because if you walk in that diary room and someone says to you, this will happen if you don't stop, you're there to be on Big Brother. If someone's going to take that from you because of some bull crap that you're doing, you're going to stop. I didn't feel like that was happening. That said, I think the first few weeks of the game are drastically different than the current game. I would much rather play in the current game. Who would I align with? Honestly, God, I don't like any of them. Who would I align with?
You would go with Jesse. You would go with Jesse.
I would go with Jesse. Hey, Jesse. No, I would probably, honestly, in the beginning, you have to go with the crowd. You just do. You have to go with the people that have the power and the numbers. That is the beginning of the game is not about getting power. It's about rolling with it. And I probably would have gone with the McCraes and Amanda and that whole circle of people. I would have never aligned myself with Aaron, and I wouldn't have, I give it to Helen, but I would never be able to go back on that kind of a personal attack and actually align with her. I would probably spend the game trying to get her out. I would align with Howard so that we could have babies.
Everybody loves some Howard.
Everybody loves some Howard.
Me
I have been like
too.
yelling at casting about how mad I am. I'm like, excuse me, what did I have on my season?
Brennan.
Kevin / Keith.
No, Brennan.
Exactly. Like, it was just kind of like, man. I had a boyfriend then, but man.
All right, what do you think about the alliance names? There's been a ton of alliance names out there.
I don't really know any of them. I heard one last night about the Goof Troop.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Okay.
Goof Troop. Yeah.
You know what's so funny? Alliance names have become so popular ever since, like, I don't know what season it like flipped over. I don't even know. It was
Renegades.
Like was it Renegades?
Yeah, once the Renegades, I think, came to
No,
light.
but
Even
like,
after Chilltown, it wasn't that great. But then once the Renegades came out, it was
well,
like.
what about the Nerd
Nerd
Squad,
Herd.
whatever they were called, the Nerd Herd, and then
Nerd Herd.
I feel like there were like natural alliances that came along, but
Right.
now it seems on every season it's like, okay, Eric, you're my new best friend. We're gonna run this house. What do you want to be? It's like before you even like know like if your
Right.
alliance is going to work. I mean, that's what makes some of those initial alliances so funny when they crumble, because everyone is so all in on the first episode and they're like, we're the moving company, we're about to move this house, and then you're like, you're gonna move out, you know? Like, it's just, you gotta chill on all the
I think
names and hats and cool things that, because everyone's trying to, like, you know, get notoriety.
Handshakes, movements.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird. Just, I remember having that conversation and trying to be like, oh, there's 3 girls, me, Danny, and Portia would be like Charlie's Angels, and then Danny was like, that's stupid, we're not them.
Not a girl.
And naturally, it came from our personalities of always having to, like, watch Portia, and that's how we became Babysitters Club. So it was like, it comes from that versus just being like, who are we going to be?
Right.
Which is weird.
I think it's also a little bit from them being smart. We've seen like the casting, I think, and I say casting loosely, more like the recruiting. No offense, Kalia. So I think these people know we need to do something to get airtime right out of the gate. And what is a better way to get airtime than to go, you know, right in there? Now, here's a question from Lori from our Z-Box room, because you mentioned Danny. This is not a path you need to go down if you don't want to go down.
That's okay.
There's some dick out there who says a lot of horrible things, and he put out this big, long blog. And in it, he said that you and Danielle are not friends anymore. Is that true? Please don't be true.
No, I'm just kidding. What if Danny, like, ran in?
I would take it to a Jet game right now.
Here comes Danny. I don't know what he's talking about. I think it's interesting that he can make any kind of calls on her life when he is the person that doesn't really talk to her. So Danny and I still talk all the time. We had lunch. Me, her, and Dominic had lunch like 2 weeks ago. I mean, I don't feel like it's the same as when we were in the house and people kept trying to say that she wasn't really my friend and she didn't really have a connection with Dominic. She was just playing him and using all of us. And it's really important to know Danielle adores and loves Big Brother. It is like she is a person who loves this game in such a different way than many people who go on to play it. I've watched it since the first season. I love this show. But she loves the game, even the bad crap. She's like, I love this game, how it can twist and turn and stab me in the back, you know? And so anything that she's doing on the show is to play the game. And I think it's amazing that people could not fathom that we could find real friendships, but that other people could find real friendships, or that other people could get married to castmates. But somehow our friendship has to be a fake one. And it's just, it's really ridiculous. I don't feel the need to defend my friendships in real life. I'm not defending my best friend who lives across the street. So why do I have to defend my friendship with Danny? So all you really need to know is that I'm much more in her life than you are. So the end.
Well, I don't think that person was asking to be mean. We don't get a lot of dick.
I think a lot of people ask a lot. I think the questions I get a lot are whether we're still friends and whether we're still together. And I made a joke after we left lunch. I was like, oh my God, we didn't take a picture and Instagram it or tweet it because people won't believe that we're actually really friends. And then she I think she tweeted a picture of her and Rachel and Brendan and Dominic somewhere. And I was like, excuse me. Okay. I need a picture on the internet so that people know we're really friends. But I think people also ask a lot about Dick. I have no clue why that man dislikes me so much. He's totally obsessed with that shaving picture of me, which I think is kind of creepy. I don't really get what his problem is. I can only say that people like that are very, very angry and sad in life. I would probably be angry and sad in life if all I had was like the internet and a reality show that made me somebody I don't know who I think I am. But I feel bad for him. At the end of the day, I genuinely feel bad for him because I think being a father and being a parent, I can only imagine. I have amazing parents. I can only imagine it's a great blessing to have. And if that's taken from you, it must hurt him just as much. So, I mean, I wish him the best, I guess. I mean, there's some things you look at people and you say, I can't even say I hate you because you're just such a non-factor in my life. And every time I see that he says or does things, I'm just like, dude, I don't know why you're so in love with me, but all right, whatever. Next.
I know why. Because he needs to boost the sales of his show up, and that gets attention.
He has a show?
Yeah, we're next question comes from Cadet, and he wants to know if you were asked to be in All Stars, would you do it?
I don't know. I think every person who's played that game, especially I think in all aspects and phases of the game, if you were someone that was like first out or second out, or if you're someone that was like Final Four, when you're so close you can taste it, you want to go back because you want to prove all these things that you can play, that you can. I can only imagine going back a second time because so much of the first time is that you have no idea what's coming. But my life is so different now. My career is so different. And to be very honest, I don't know how my industry and my career would accept me going back on Big Brother. And to be very honest, it matters much more to me to run a network than it does for me to go back on Big Brother. So the odds of me doing that one are far better than the odds of me winning Big Brother. So I don't know. I think that it would be a really, really tough decision. In the end, I don't know if anybody can actually turn it down and say no. I don't think anyone in their right mind could say, nope, sorry, Robin, I'm not coming back. I mean, I just don't think anyone really could do that.
Especially with All Stars, because, they bumped all those salaries this year just for the regular people. All Stars.
I mean, you go back a second time. Yeah. You go back a second time, and I think, it's Hollywood still. I mean, it's a reality show, and everyone knows it as, like, this very different entity, but it's still a TV show, and there's still negotiations that happen. And when you want certain people to come back, and you want them to come back very badly, not only are they less green than they were when they were first on the show, they know that they can negotiate and get more back. Right. There are certain people that know without a doubt that if they came back, they would bring in ratings. And once you know that, you're able to say, hey, I would like a bump in my salary or my stipend or whatever. So yeah, sometimes the money is I guess a way to bring you back too. I know that it helps, especially vets, because they give you more of a guarantee versus if you get voted out and you don't get anything. So, but that's a hard. People always ask if you would go back. I don't think anybody in their right mind could say I wouldn't flat out. But just where my life is,
I know somebody who said they wouldn't go in the Big Brother house when they.
Oh, really? I'm like, really? Who? I would love to have some of the people back who, like, I hate having vets come back. I think it's kind of, like, annoying and I'm over it. But at the same time, there are some people who I would love to see come back just because they talk such trash and they talk such a game. I would just love to see them come back and faceplant just because you're like,
uh-huh.
Well, you played the game in 1997, so it's different now.
Wow, calling it out.
I think Rachel said, and if this happens, I will be thrilled. She wasn't confirming. She was just throwing out her theory that if All Stars happened, that it'll be Legends versus All Stars, and that's Legends would consist of anybody before, like, Season 8. And then All Stars would be 8 to 15. I think that would be amazing because I'm sick of all the All Star seasons on CBS lately picking from just the last 2 seasons.
I would have to agree. I think it would be really fun to see. We always tossed out like fun ways that they could change up each season. I remember once we said it would be really fun if they gathered up, because now we're at season 15, that's a house full of people. If they gathered out the first voted out of every season and put them all back in the house as a season, that's a great idea, because then you get all the people who were either really stupid and played themselves out of the game in the first round, or you get like people who genuinely just didn't get the chance to play and they come back. And then maybe we'd make it 16 and we'd have Jodie in too, because she plays for about 12 hours.
I think she'd be first out just for the hell of it, because everyone would want to keep that thing going.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. I think she might have played a better game had she obviously been given time. I mean, she was in the house for 23 seconds. But, that was one of the few twists that I was like, I don't know if I'm into that one. Because that's such a major, if you think about it, I don't know anyone who's ever gone out for something that they, in this like kind of frame, but it's such an arduous like casting process. It's so heavy. And then like for you to get to the end and then get on the show and be like, yeah, and then you're voted out in the first like 10 hours, that is like, oh, that blows. Like, that sucks. So I think that's a good idea, though, to take the first of every. I think it's a great idea to bring back people who were on. But I don't even want to see, like, 8 on. I want to see 8 and before. I want to see people who were from season 1 through, like, season, like, through All-Stars, honestly. Because that's when things kind of, I think, kind of changed in terms of the game and the show. But it would be so fun because a lot of them are also older, so it's a different game. We need to see something different.
We're going to have a bunch of Jerrys.
I would give anything. I would give anything for a nice Jerry. No, I don't want Jerry back, but I want Rennie. Oh, I want Rennie back.
Oh, Rennie, she's so sweet. I actually really liked the X Factor season. I loved the season where your ex was in the house with you. I thought it was hilarious because for them it sucked. I mean, that would suck if I like walked in the house.
That was season 4. That was season 4.
Yeah, that was season 4. And I really liked that because anytime you put people in the house that already have a history and already have like something before they walked in the house, especially when it's a hate or a bad relationship, that will still trump people that you don't know and can't trust. So that's why you saw a lot of those relationships on that season. They at least put their differences aside for the game for that season so that they could play with someone that at the end of the day they still knew they could probably trust. I mean, Danny and her dad played their season together because at the end of the day, that bond is way stronger than whoever schmever that she knows in the house. So I like that season. I love when you bring people in that have a past with someone. I think the only season that kind of fell flat, they should have gone all the way in 8. They should have not just had like 3 or 4 people. They should have literally split it in half and said, 7 of y'all don't know each other, and then here's your other counterpart.
I know they were supposed to do something this year because Judd kept alluding to it on the feeds. He had somebody that went with him on the auditions. The rumor were that they were going to bring in couples, and that even on the auditioning process, you were to name like people that were friends of yours and our family that watched it. So I think there was somebody that Judd did bring along, and maybe they just said, not this year. They couldn't make it happen. So it might happen, Kalia. Maybe.
I mean, from a casting standpoint and from working in production, you are always, up to the very end, moving the parts around and trying to figure out what's going to make the best season for that year. And that's why whenever people, even if they tweet me and they're like, oh, I didn't make it this year, what do I need to do next year to make it? So much of it is a puzzle, and it has nothing to do with you. Like, you could be great. I mean, when I used to work in theater in New York, you could be amazing, and you could have the best audition of your life. If you are filling in for someone and you're taking someone else's role, sometimes it comes down to the costume not fitting you. I mean, it is literally, sometimes it has nothing to do with you. So I think a lot of times down to the end, they are still trying to decide what kind of season will garner the best ratings, will be the biggest change from last season, will do the most, and they have to find their hook, their twist, like, this is the biggest season of Big Brother yet, so the whole season we know to expect, this is the biggest season ever. Anything can happen that's huge. I would not be surprised if there were people that were told to, that had counterparts that were there with them at the end, because that's just another way of casting the show. It can happen any year. I've heard it has happened numerous years. Not on my year. I didn't. I mean, well, at least not for me. I wasn't able to bring in my fiance or my boyfriend or my dad.
They casted this season as the season that was most likely everybody will be fired once they get out into the real world. So, yeah. And I think the fans have a lot to do with the outside stuff happening to the house guests while they're inside. And, you know, the fans need to be fans in support of both the network and of the house guests because we're paying to watch you guys. And then whatever happens on the outside, we can be appalled all we want. But to make actions on things, that's not our call. That's just not our call.
It's still a TV show. And the honesty of it is that even when fans of this show are irate, even when they are pissed and angry, no one stops watching. So it's all just that. And so that's the thing is that at the end of the day, they can hear all that. There is no such thing as bad press. There's no such thing as bad press. There's no such thing as, you know, too much crap going on. Why do you think people release stories of divorces and breakups and rehab or whatever a month before their movie comes out? It's not ideal, it's not what you want, but those things are strategically placed. When bad things happen, it's like, hey, how can we spin this, you know? And so it's the same for Big Brother. It may not be their most rated season, but their ratings grew as the drama around the show grew, as more people were talking about it on The Talk and on TMZ and on radio stations. It made the ratings rise. So at the same time, you can be mad at them and you can hate that this is happening. Right. They're still just looking at numbers. And at the end of the day, it's like it's still working out for them.
Oh, yeah.
So for the trailer of this show, we're going to be like, we all gang up and get into a huge fight with Kalia. Must watch now.
Perfect. And then I'll cry, of course, because that's what I do when I get upset. And it'll just all work out. And everyone will be like, ah. You know, I made the funny, last night, every once in a while I have feeds. And I don't watch them all the time, but when I do, I always open the chats to see what people are saying. And I'm always like flabbergasted by like what people say and do in those chats and how involved they are. Which I guess if you're sitting on a chat at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's safe to say you're involved. But I mean, someone last night, I didn't even say anything. And then I said, who's nominated? Because I couldn't tell, and I had just finished the double eviction. And someone said, who was nominated? And then someone said, Kalia, go away! And I was like, what if I'm not really Kalia? What if I'm just someone pretending to be Kalia? Like, so I think the fans of this show are so tightly wound and tightly involved, and so incredibly, they find something and they latch onto it. And they latch onto it the whole season. You know, Erin's a silly girl. She's young. She's immature. She made some ridiculous comments. I don't think she is a kind-hearted person, unfortunately. I don't know her to be that. Based on what I've seen on the show, she could be the sweetest girl in the universe. She could be. But I think that people latched onto that, and now they're just going to ride it all the way out. While it's like every week in that house is a year. So it's like it's kind of already, not forgotten, but it's like, all right, let's move on. Let's remember that this is a game. We can deal with all the personal stuff when the season is over. So I wish the fans would kind of ease up on that kind of stuff a bit more.
All right, I got a question for you. With the you're just watching the double eviction show, and we have our 2 first jury members. Julie says that I can't tell you anything because you still have a chance to be in the game. What do you think it is? What's your speculation?
Again, when someone is told you have to. When you get a sentence like that in Big Brother, it is not just a sentence. You have to literally, and we did this, you have to literally dissect every single solitary word. When they say you have a shot at still being a part of the game, there are keywords. You have a shot. That's not a definite, which means they can go back and do nothing. Right. You can join the game. You can affect the game. You can be a part of the game. That does not mean you will play the game. Right. There are like really important words that they use, and obviously I know it really, really well because my first HOH was a game of literally sitting there and looking at that sentence and saying, what could this mean? It could mean so many things. I think that there's a possibility. I think because on a personal level, because some of the people that were voted out had such a just deplorable season, I can understand why there would be a possibility of them coming back. Right. Because there is still, as much as there is hate and racism, there is still a really solid fan base that is just like, this is disgusting and this is unfair and this is all those things that I think that would still really support Howard coming back or Candace coming back. I think it was the same like when Dominic went home. I think, unbeknownst to us, America, of course, loved Dominic. And so I think that from the beginning there was the possibility of people coming back, hence why they were all sequestered. But as soon as like Dominic and Brendan went home, I think they were like, crap, we just lost like two of our like fan favorites. We have to figure out a way to bring them back. So there's probably a possibility. I would say bringing people back in a season that's already going to be this long and it's also not everyone's favorite season, is probably not the smartest thing.
Well, they're going to have 91 days, and they usually always have 2 double evictions. And the way the House count is right now, that won't happen. So somebody will have to be brought back and voted in, then have a fast forward so that they can go the full 91 days.
There's not 2 double evictions.
Some seasons there were.
I don't.
Don't you mean double eviction and a fast forward?
And a fast forward, yeah. So they would bring somebody.
Yeah, I was like, I've only known that one episode to be the episode where 2 people go home. Now the thing that sometimes has happened is that, I guess you guys don't see it, but by the end of the night we still have an HOH. You just don't know it yet. I think bringing people back is fun because, especially if you bring somebody back who everyone really would not like to have back. It's like, it makes it even more, it's like, oh, I know now that you're not actually really with me. You voted against me, blah, blah, blah. And so, unfortunately, when you are brought back, it's usually a revolving door. I mean, it's usually like you come back and everyone's like, oh, we get a bye week. Let's vote her out again, you know?
I think they're trying to do... Sorry, Aaron.
Or they come back as ooey gooey cookies, and it's just for 24 hours.
But I think because that CBS had, or Eat 'em All and everything, had such a hand in the Canada version with Gary going back into the house, I have the Gary effect feeling that we get.
You don't think they had a hand in Brendan going back?
Well,
yeah. Or you don't think they're going to wait to do it until Amanda gets booted?
I mean, to be very honest, I think that some of it you have to also remember, at the end of the day, it's also still a TV show, and there is story producing, and there is, if you, and this is in unscripted television across the board, if you were to just say, hey, I want to do a show about these 5 best friends who are trying to make it in New York, here's a camera, go girls, it's going to be the most boring show in the world, because it's like us just sitting there having conversations about boys and food and working out and jobs. But if you find the stories and you cast it properly, and you start to cast people who already have backstory, we're obviously going to bring the girl into the mix that nobody likes. There's always like a storyboard that's going. And so even in a show like this, where it is literally based on, the foundation is still the same. You put 15, however many people in a house, there are cameras everywhere, you add these absurd competitions, you even do elements like the HOH is above everybody, you do all these things that are naturally just going to make everyone spin out of control, but there's still story that you have to follow. And in this situation, when there are people that you know are going to be ratings gold. I hated that Rachel was on my season from the day she walked in the house. I did not like her. I did not like her from her own season. But I completely understood why she was on the show again. I think everyone understands why she's on the show, because she brings in numbers and she plays the game. And you can't fault her for that. So I think that people have to remember that too. When people are brought back, there is absolutely a strategic reason for bringing them back. You never just, otherwise Keith would have came back. You know what I mean? There's always a reason that people come back. So if people come back this season, I'm guaranteeing it's going to be someone who really... I think at this point you'd have to say, I think at this point even Judd coming back would be huge, because he literally, they surprised the crap out of him. He had no idea. I had no idea that like when they called him up, I was like, when she said,
oh no.
Oh, Kalia, you froze.
Yeah, she might be able to hear us. Oh, wait. Okay, you're back. Go ahead. When they said,
Judd, take the seat.
When Aaron said, Jesse, I'm taking you off the block, I was like seriously, because I think even Jesse thought she was going home. Spencer hugged her and said, you've been a class act the whole way. Everyone thought, the 2 people sitting there were probably going home. So when it comes down to something like that, and it's like, get up, and then you put up someone that like, what? I was surprised. I think bringing him back would bring a crazy element to the game because he was literally hit with the door. I think Judd would bring back a game element. I think Candace would bring back an emotional element. And that's also kind of a liability because I'm not sure I would put Candace and Gina Marie in the house again together. Because you're only going to get pushed so far before you're getting knocked out. Like that's just.
I would love to see Candace come back in, Gina Marie go out the door, and there we go.
Wouldn't it be great if it was like in passing?
Exactly.
That would be amazing if they did it that way. And I want Candace back in. I do not see it happening unless they do it like really soon. Like by next week. We need to replay that Gina Marie comment. And she would go right back in if it was this week. But I
can't wait to watch them all kind of try to backpedal and grovel when they get out of the house about things that they said. Because in a lot of ways, and even addressing something that has always been like brought up, and we laughed about my dog in the beginning. When I made the comments about my dog, I had no idea that they were being taken in such a way where like people were like, I'm calling PETA, she shouldn't have a dog, you know. And I honestly, I got out and people were so mad. And even to this day, people will say, I'll like Instagram a photo of my dog and someone's like, oh, do you like beating him to death? And I'm like, what? So I think that like you do say and do things when you're in that environment. And you do forget in a certain capacity that there are cameras. When you're just sitting there talking about your lives and you're sharing like secrets with your friends. And Danny was always really good for that. When we would be talking, we did a lot of like mouthing and whispering.
I know.
We did a lot of, we'll talk about this when we get out of the house, because you have to remind yourself that you're not just sitting here talking to your friend. You are talking to your friend with a billion people watching you. So, you know, I think they're all going to come out and be like, well, I said that in the heat of the moment. She said that I live with my mom. Well, girl, you live with your mom, okay? The end. That's fine. Like, lots of people, it's a recession. A lot of people live with their moms. But for you to react that way and say some of the things that not only you said in that moment, but you have said the last several weeks of being on this show, it's just like, dog, you're in for a really rude awakening when you get out of this house. Like, a really rude awakening.
Yeah, what I do
I'm
is
nervous
really...
for them.
Yeah, what I do is dangerous for all the house guests inside because I type their every word.
Oh, thank you for that.
Sorry.
You like trying to type our words when we're like,
oh my God! I was definitely saying, they're fucking stealth whispering again. I can't fucking... And I was always like saying, fuck. So, yeah.
People got so mad about that, and you're like, I implore every fan of this show to try. It's really hard to do it, but to try to imagine that every single solitary thing you say and do is for the whole country to hear. I guarantee you would not be so hard on house guests, because it really is like, it's a different world in there. And when you come out and you're shocked by like some of the things that people are holding against you, I mean, and you have 14 seasons to watch that kind of stuff fall back on you, of course you're going to go in the house and play like a weirdo because you're trying to get airtime and you're trying to get America to love you. I don't think anyone ever talked to America before, like, maybe like season like 6. Like, I feel like people are always now like, America, vote me MVP. America, please give us food. America, give us. I'm like, who's America? Like,
beautiful Helen impression. There you go.
I think it's so weird.
Want to do my outro?
Do it.
Say hey, it's John's mom.
Hey, this is John's mom, and you can reach John at my house. At Jonah Comedy Jonah on Twitter.
Did you
Big
have fun?
fan, John. Big
I had fun.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. You can follow me at Kalia Booker on Twitter. I have a fan page on Facebook. I don't even know who's on it. And you can read my blog. My blog is about a girl. It's I just totally forgot what the address is.
Well, we'll have the link below you.
Yay!
Well, that about wraps up our show for this week. And can anybody explain to me why my shirt is so gaily low? I apologize for that, but it's too late to button it up now, so we're just going to go with it. Now, look, like I said, there's a chance for you guys to win $1,000 right now by the 11th, by Monday the 11th. All you gotta do is join our Z-Box room. And then when you guys join the Z-Box room, just look at the directions right there. It's really easy. You just click one little link, type a little comment, and then Z-Box gives away $1,000 a day. And you can, enter as much as you want. So all the details will be there, really easy to see in our Z-Box room. I'm even gonna cut the ending short and not even pimp all the other stuff. You guys know, click all around the video. I'm not gonna explain it to you this one, because we're begging you to go to our Z-Box room, join it, and enter for you guys to win that $1,000. And you also know we're always chatting live during all the Big Brother East and West Coast episodes in there. We give away our own Big Brother autographs, live feed subscriptions, and other prizes in the room ourselves. So much happens in there, exclusive videos and blogs. So that's it. I'm just gonna sit here and wait. Have you guys joined the Z-Box room? The links are below. Or you can click on it right in this video if you paid attention back in the beginning. Okay, waiting. Go join our Z-Box. It's the one thing we're asking. I'll give you a whole... you know what? Here's a better one. We have a live event coming up Thursday with Big Brother Canada people and with some other current Big Brother people. So you're not going to want to miss that. But I might not do it. If you don't join the Z-Box room. So I'm waiting. Okay, see you guys all next week. If you join the Z-Box room. Bye for now. Only if you join the Z-Box room. Bye.
Yay!
Aww.